Stanford University.
Thank you all for coming today. My name is David Wei. I'm the 16th generation lineage holder for the Wudang Feng sect. We practice Kung Fu. Kung Fu, martial arts. Not in a sense of self-defense, but in a sense of self-discovery. Right? Martial arts in the sense of self-discovery. The other thing too is that who's here fighting? Right? None of us are fighting. And so self-defense, really, maybe not as necessary. However, every single one of us, I'm sure, has been directly or indirectly touched by cancer, heart disease, or diabetes. These are much bigger fights. And so with regards to self-defense, what are we really defending against? Right? Are we defending against our neighbors, or are we defending against our bad habits and our lifestyle choices that make us sick? Right? So self-defense takes on a new perspective in this work. So really quick, I want to give a bit of a disclaimer. Again, I'll state that I am a Kung Fu guy. I am a martial artist. And the work that I'm sharing with you today is spiritual in nature. However, it does have medicinal function. I just wanted to let you all know that I'm a Kung Fu guy, not a doctor. Okay? However, I will use some words that are a bit of a stretch to me. But bear with me as I try and convey these principles. You guys follow so far? Okay. The other thing that I want to note, if any of you have hypertension, high blood pressure, high risk of stroke or heart attack, any of that stuff, and on the other end, any type of respiratory things, just proceed with a little bit of mindfulness, okay? Don't push yourself too hard. Is that fair? Good. So I'm going to, every so often, check in with things like that. Is that fair? You guys get it? You understand? And then when you guys don't respond, it gets very awkward. Understood? Yes. Yeah, good. Thank you, thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you all for coming. We're here today to talk about breathing, quality of breath, and how to improve on quality of breath so as to improve the quality of life. The system we're here to learn about today, Gu Na Xin. Gu Na Xin is the long name. The short name is Tui Na. However, on the listing, the signage, which I hear isn't the best, I put the whole name, Gu Na Xin, because God forbid you guys read a thing that says you're going to learn about tuna. Right. But Tui Na is the short way to say Gu Na Xin. Okay. Now we did this earlier and it was fun in the last lecture. Do you guys remember Batman? Now, specifically, Adam West Batman. Yeah. Right? Adam West Batman came on, same bat time, same bat channel, right? And he would get in these fights. And what did the fights? They had those animated onomatopoeias, right? How do you say onomatopoeia? Is that right? Spell it O-N-O-Mono. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Onomatopoeia is a sound that mimics, or a word that mimics a sound, correct? And so onomatopoeia for Batman would be pow, zam, whip, bang, right? Kapow, right? So then in that same kind of light, we're going to read Gu Na Xin. And that's going to give us insight as to what this work is about. So tu, first word tu. Say it with me. Tu, 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 tu. Onomatopoeia, what are we doing? Yeah, good. So when you answer and answer correctly, that's my response. Happy, so you don't have to be scared, okay? You can answer. Okay, so tu, it's to spit, to expel, to get rid of, right? Gu. What is gu? We even have an English word for gu, do we not? What does gu speak to? It speaks to something that is mucky, icky, slimy, ew, right? Typically has a color to it, right? Like neon green or pussy brown, right? Goo, right? We're getting an image here. Tu gu. Spit out the nasty stuff. Tu gu. Now, here's the fun one. I meditated on this one. It's a bit of a stretch. Okay, follow me. Okay, na. Na. Na means to grab. Now, not just grab, but grab with a tenacity, grab with a ferocity. And so you can think of a hungry animal. If a hungry animal were to gnaw, it's like gnawing on a bone. Gnaw, right? Give me that, gnaw, right? Kind of a snarl, gnaw, right? Gnaw, right? Gnaw is to take. Not just take, but to take, to claim. It's mine, like a hungry animal. Gnaw. Okay? Xin. Last word is xin. We also have an English word for this too, do we not? Xin, to say something has a sheen, it means it's shiny, it's reflective, it's bright. If we were to give shine, something shiny, a sound effect, what would the sound effect of shiny or bright be? It would be shing. Would it not? Right? So we have tu, gu, na, xin. Said with a little bit of oomph, right? And it's that oomph that's going to give us insight. Tu is to eliminate, to expel. Gu is old, death, poison. Na is to grab, to take. Xin is new, shiny, reflective, bright, fresh. So out with the old, in with the new is a generic way to say it. The full experience is out with death, in with life. You guys follow? So tu gu na xin, or for short, tuna. No, for short, Tui Na. Tui Na. Yeah, good. Tui Na. A little bit different. Okay. So, Tu Gu Na Xin. First and foremost, it is a spiritual practice. It is a spiritual practice. It just so happens to have medicinal benefit. Okay? But spiritual endeavor first and foremost. Okay, why is it spiritual? Tu Gu Na Xin, this practice is designed and developed to improve the quality of your breath. Now, I'm going to make a stretch here. The quality of your breath is directly related to the quality of your life. Can you relate? That's where you guys go, uh-huh. Okay, the quality of your breath directly relates to the quality of your life. To illustrate that point, I'm going to tell the story of the age-old rabbit and turtle. Okay, so how does a rabbit breathe? This is an interactive, participatory lecture. So through your nose, really fast, breathe like a rabbit. Try. Very tiring. Keep that up longer than a minute, right? And you will see that the quality of your breath impacts the quality of your life. On the other end of that, instead of breathing short and fast, try breathing long and slow. Already more relaxed. So you see the quality of your breath directly reflects the quality of your experience in life, right? To bring it back to that story of the rabbit and the turtle, how many breaths per minute for a rabbit? A lot. A lot of breaths per minute. How long does the rabbit live? I Googled it. In the wild, on average, say 2 to 4 years. As a pet, if you're lucky, on average about 8 years. Right? Relatively short-lived. Other end of the spectrum, tortoise. How many breaths per minute?
2.
Trick question. It's more like breaths per hour. The tortoise, I might be getting this wrong, has mammalian. Is it mammalian? It doesn't have fur. It's amphibian. It's something. It's one of those things, but it breathes. It doesn't have gills, right? The tortoise breathes. So it does what? It takes a big breath, then it goes underwater, does its thing. I just came back from Hawaii, right? Under the sea, right?
It's a turtle.
Their land? Oh, one of them, right? But we know that the turtles can be underwater for a long time, and they live much, much longer than rabbits, right? And so the quality of breath, the tempo of breath can be related to the quality and length of your life, right? It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm not here to be scientific. I'm here to inspire with stories, okay? So we think of the rabbit, we think of the turtle, and this gives us insight as to how breath can impact our lives, right? But we can all agree, slow breath makes for a calm heart. Yeah? That's where Ego goes, yeah. Okay? So slow breath, calm heart. Calm heart, happy person, peaceful person, right? Right, so this is from my teacher. It's in Chinese, so it translates a little funny. Slow breath, calm heart, peaceful spirit, happy human, happy humanity. And so there's that age-old saying, right? Peace begins with me, right? And so breath is an access to that. Slow breath, calm heart, peaceful spirit, happy human, happy humanity. Okay, so Gu Na Xin is the practice of having a long, slow, full breath so that we can have a long, slow, full life. The quality of your breath directly reflects the quality of your life. Okay? So, Gu Na Xin. Before we go into the work, I want to do a litmus test of sorts. I want to see where your breath is. So, my invitation to you now, sit at the edge of your seat. As my teacher says, sit at attention. Align the edge of the seat right between your poo-poo and your pee-pee. And sit tall and erect. From this space, take a full, deep breath and observe what a full, deep breath feels like for you in your body this morning. Go ahead and take a few. Close your eyes if you like. And if you were to grade that quality of breath on a scale of 1 to 10, does it feel full? Does it feel complete? Does it feel like you get enough air? Anybody ever have that experience where you breathe but you don't get enough air? Right? It happens. And so if you were to give the quality of your breath now a scale of 1 to 10 grade, what would it be? Keep it in mind, write it down, jot it down somehow, however you like, because we're going to come back to this to compare and contrast. Okay, good. So, in observing the room, when I say take a deep breath, take a deep, full breath, I'm going to mimic you all. Many of you did this. Right? Consider that is not a deep, full breath. Consider that only uses 1/3 of your lung capacity, if that. Right? And so if we were to look at the lungs as a tree, right, inverted, we have the roots, we have the trunk, we have the branch, we have the stem, we have the leaves, right, for the full lung capacity. The average breath is shallow, barely gets past the trunk, right? And so if we want to access the branches, stems, and leaves down here in the deep, deep regions of our lungs, we kind of have to take a deeper, fuller, mindful breath to access all of that, yeah? So, again, take that deep, full breath, get as much air as you can, and kind of remember what quality is on the scale of 1 to 10. Anybody have a perfect 10 breath? How about 8 or 9? Anybody in that range? 7 or 8? 5 or 6? Okay, you guys are being honest with yourself. Okay, okay. Anybody in the 2 or 3? Okay. Oh. Okay, good, good, good. Now note the quality of your breath. Okay, note the quality of your breath, because at the end of the lecture, after we do all this work, we're going to come back to it. And in an ideal world, we'll have noticed some benefit. Okay, we'll have progressed some. So, now, again, that mechanic of breath, many of you did this. Some of us here know. Maybe we have a yoga or a meditation or other type of therapeutic breath experience. Maybe we know that we can breathe down to the navel. I'll stand sideways so you can see, right? So we have a high, and we have a low. Are you guys able to see that? And are you able to see that they're completely distinct from the other, right? Some of us will breathe into the belly, but we have to use the chest too. So are you able to completely isolate just the chest, completely isolate just the belly, right? Equate that into your grade too, okay? Then beyond the high, beyond the low, there's a middle. So high, middle, low. Don't worry, humans can do this. There's nothing special about me. I just spent 5 years in a temple practicing this stuff, okay? So notice each section was clear and distinct. Notice each section was completely isolated from the others, right? Some of us can access this middle fine, but not without the top and the bottom, right? So beyond high, middle, low, there's also a back. Maybe you guys can see this. Did you see that? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, when we're speaking of breath then, a full breath, we want to explore the full circumference of 3 basins. We have an upper basin, we have a middle basin, and we have a lower basin. And this basin goes in a 360-degree circumference. So the bottom basin will have your navel, it will have your sides, it will include your sacrum. The middle basin will have your plexus, your ribs, and your kidneys. The upper basin will have your sternum, your armpits, and your scapula, right? All the way around, full circumference of each basin. Now, each basin is special too. This upper basin, what resides here? Heart and lung. So this upper basin is going to be your respiratory and vascular functions. Does that make sense? We're going to descend one level now to our middle basin. The middle basin, very, very important aspect of our body. This is where digestion and assimilation occur. Here we have a stomach. Behind it is a spleen. From there we have a pancreas, a liver, and a gallbladder. All reside here in this middle portion. So this is our digestion and assimilation region. To go down to the bottom basin, now this is our colon and our reproductive organs. So this will be our elimination function and reproductive function. And so each basin has 2 jobs, right? You guys following so far? Mm-hmm. And so now that is physical function, but this will be fun for you, sir. We also have the psycho-emotional aspect too. And so this is a bit of a stretch for me because, again, I'm a martial artist, not a psychologist. But there is a conversation of sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, that kind of fight or flight, rest and digest response. And we can liken this to an AM/FM dial, short wave, long wave, right? And so on the short wave, that fight or flight response, if all my blood, if all my body heat, if all my breath is in the upper basin, we've all seen this before. My breath will be, my face will be what color? Red. Red. Steam will be coming out of my what? Ears. Ears, right? This would be a fight or a flight position. Fight. All the blood, all the body heat, all the breath is up, it's risen, I'm fighting, right? And when we see people in this space, what do we say? Calm down. Please calm down. We'll even gesture like this, like down, right? And so what is that? An invitation. It's an invitation to slow the breath, have a deeper breath, right? Lower the blood pressure. Let the blood and the body heat go down, away from this fight response, right? So now on the other end of the spectrum, if all my breath, all my blood, all my body heat is down here, now my face is pale. My belly is yellow. My knees are buckling. My tail is between my legs. This is indicative of a flight response. Does that make sense? So if all my blood, everything's up here, I want to fight. If all my blood, everything's down here, ooh, I better get out of here. You guys follow? And then here in the middle, this is going to be my freeze response, right? So this is deer caught in the headlights. This is butterflies in my stomach, intestines tied in knots, right? This is frozen. Okay, so we have a fight, we have a flight, and we have a freeze. And this is important in the psycho-emotional aspect because when I'm listening to this radio station, they only play this type of music. When I'm listening to these radio stations, they only play those types of musics. Does that make sense? So if I'm in my fight space, maybe I don't have a listening for logic and reason. Right? I want to fight. But when I'm in my fear space, my flight space, maybe there's room for logic and reason. Right? So depending on what radio station you're on along your AM/FM dial, kind of dictates what music you're listening to. Does that make sense to you? Right? So that's the FM. Sympathetic, parasympathetic, I always get them mixed up. I think it's the sympathetic, the fight or flight. Yeah. So on the other end, the parasympathetic, the slow, long wave, AM dial, right? We too can have blood and body heat up here. But when all the blood and body heat is up here on the other end, this is fun. I'm on a roller coaster, all right? Then if all my blood and body heat is here, maybe it's not so panicky, but maybe it's Thanksgiving and I'm digesting a big meal. All right? And then if all my blood and body heat is down here, then my wife and I are making a baby. Right? So we have 6 Fs. Fight, freeze, flight, fun, food, fun. Okay, 6 Fs. Okay? So, Gu Na Xin is a practice that gives us access to all of it. Have access to your entire AM/FM dial. Because I mentioned earlier, if I'm on this aspect of my spectrum, only these tools are available. If I'm on this aspect of the spectrum, only those tools are available. Does that make sense to you guys? And so it is of value to have access to the entire toolbox. Right? So, in this practice, you have a high, you have a middle, you have a low. Here's your participation aspect. Sit up nice and tall and try to access your high, your middle, and your low. Beyond just trying to access, see how well you can isolate your high, your middle, and your low. Good. Good. You guys are so diligent. Good job. Way better than the last group. You can tell them I said it too. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that most of you have challenges in the middle region. Okay, it's very, very common, very, very common. Okay, So now that we've checked in with the three spaces, the three basins, if you will, now to have that full, deep breath, it's going to have to be with all the basins. So then a full, deep breath, we relate this to a tall glass of water. I've been called a tall glass of water many times in my day. And if I were to fill this said glass of water, you pour the water in, what aspect of the cup gets full first? The bottom, duh, right? After the bottom gets full, then it's the middle, finally the top, right? Now I want to take this said glass of water and empty it. The water gets emptied from the top first, the middle second, the bottom last. This is important because our breath is going to be done in the same way. So if I want to have that full, complete breath, I'm going to breathe in, and breathe in. Before I breathe out, out, out. Utilizing all three basins, the entire circumference. That will be a full, deep breath, utilizing the entire lung capacity. Try. Now, before you try, perhaps some of us are familiar with a Tai Chi or a Qigong, right? Maybe we've seen David Carradine on Channel 9. Maybe we've seen people in the parks in the morning, right? And we've seen movements like this. Give me a uh-huh if you've seen something like this. Yeah, right? It's a very common movement, very generic. Most forms have it. And so, you guys get the principle of yin and yang? Yin yang, right? One side's black, one side's white, dynamic opposites, right? So a yang, masculine, muscular function. Observably, I'm using my muscles to lift and lower my arm. Incorrect. Consider a yin, feminine, passive, yielding expression of buoyancy, riding the breath. So my arms aren't moving because of my muscles. My arms are moving along with my breath. Into the bottom, into the middle, into the top, out from the top, out from the middle, out from the bottom. And so there's a different quality of movement now. It's no longer this muscular, aggressive expression. It's now a soft, passive, buoyant expression, directly related to the quality of my breath. You guys get that? Okay? So here's your invitation to try. Sit up nice and tall. Close your eyes if you like. Fill from the bottom to the middle to the top. Empty from the top, from the middle, from the bottom. Go at a pace that suits you. This is, after all, your breath. Your breath, your practice, your experience. And so, stand, sit, lie, walk, fly. You're going to be breathing. So, however you like, sir. I do understand that sitting does lend to its limitations. I also recognize that standing, the space, lends to its limitations. So we're just going to do the best we can with what we have available here today. Deal? Okay. And so now, most important, if you were to grade on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you grade the quality of your breath right now? A 1. Oh, my goodness. If we can get you up to 2, great success. Great success. Okay, so this is just baseline. This is just to see where we are. Okay, don't make it wrong. There's nothing to fix. It's just where you are right now. Many things can impact the breath. I mean, if you go home and eat wasabi, it's going to impact the quality of your breath. And so, depending on where you are in your day, where you are in your life, your breath is going to be this or that. And so if your breath is maybe suboptimal at the moment, that's okay. Don't judge yourself. Love yourself. Be patient. And know that you have a practice now to improve upon. Okay?
May I ask a question?
I would prefer that you save it for the end, but go ahead.
Well, it's a matter of breathing through the nose.
Mm-hmm. Good. So, breath through the nose is preferred. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth would be the preferred method. Inhaling through the nose, a number of reasons. One, we have nose hairs. Nose hairs act as a filter. The other thing, we have nose boogers. Nose boogers are a result of that filtered air, right? And mucus all caught up, right? Cleaning the air, right? The other thing is we have this long sinus nasal pathway that warms the air and acclimates it to our own body temperature, right? The air, the surrounding ambient air is not 98.6 degrees, right? So by breathing it in through the nasal passage, it warms the air before it gets to the lungs. Breathing in through the mouth won't do that, right? So the other thing is that you kind of have soft tissue along the inside of your sinus. What I mean by that, hard tissue, soft tissue, right? So your inside of the sinus is all lined with soft tissue that's porous. And so that can take in oxygen as well. So by breathing in through the nose, you're directly fueling your brain with oxygen. Right? So these are all reasons to breathe through the nose. The other thing, I had done some security work at some point, and this is kind of neither here nor there, but it's a cute thing. We are trained as security professionals to ignore mouth breathers. So if you're walking through the riot or the whatever, you're not a threat. But if you're walking like this, security has their eyes on you, right? So if you want to be a criminal, be non-assuming. Okay. Good. Yeah. So, in through the nose, right? However, out through the mouth. Out through the mouth, why? Have you ever burped through your nose? Probably could, but it takes some effort, right? Certainly wouldn't be cute, okay? Burping through your nose is a challenge. Why? Because it's hard to release digestive gases through our nose. So exhaling through the mouth allows us to eliminate just a little bit more than we would through our nose. So in an ideal world, through this practice, we're inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth. Does that answer your question? Good. Let's save questions for after, okay? Good. So now, along the course of that breath, we all noticed areas that maybe aren't as available. Again, the assumption is most of us probably feel limitation here in the middle, yeah? So now, step one of our practice. Step one is to tap. So, where you feel that restriction, where you feel that limitation, we're going to take our fingertips and we're going to lightly tap. As you tap, you're going to take long, slow draws of breath in through the nose, long, slow exhales out through the mouth, right? And don't be shy, right? You received that well, thank you. Okay, tap, tap, tap. Can you guys hear my tapping? Too loud for the microphone? Okay, good. So as you tap, long draws in, long draws out. Don't stop. Keep going. You can multitask. So as you can do this, I can tell you what's happening. What's happening as you tap, you're giving your body a vibratory cue. This gentle vibration opens the brachial pathways when done in conjunction with the slow, long breath. And logically, that may make sense to you. If I want to fill up this balloon we call lung, if I gently tap, it's going to help me take in more air. Does that make sense to you guys? I know it's hard to answer and tap at the same time, but we can go, right? Good, And then so consider on the other end of the spectrum, I love how you guys are all still doing it. Very good, good kung fu, right? On the exhale, this gentle tap is also going to help us eliminate. Does that make sense? Because if we see somebody coughing, what do we want to do to their back? We want to pat their back because that will help them eliminate. Eliminate what? Any tar, mucus, phlegm, dust, pollution, smoke, fire, whatever is in our lungs. That patting is going to help it eliminate. Does that make sense to you guys? Good. So you can rest. That is step one, tapping. Tapping helps you get more air. You guys get the logic. Okay. Now that we're done tapping, just from that, what do your fingertips feel like?
Alive.
They feel alive, right? That's a good word. Maybe alert, maybe a buzz or a tingle. Maybe they feel warm, right? We're not looking for marching bands. We're not looking for fireworks, but maybe there's a subtle experience of right? It's kind of like a residual sensory stimulus. You guys get that? It's subtle. More than just your fingertips, how about on your chest where you were tapping? Is there a new awareness there too? Now, if you don't feel anything, that's fine. There's always one person in the room. I don't feel it. Always one, okay? And if you're the person that doesn't feel anything, okay. Don't force it. Certainly don't make believe, okay? But check in with your fingers. If you don't feel any buzz or tingle, that's okay, but at the very least, feel the features of your fingers. Feel the air on your skin, feel your knuckles, feel your nails. Get present to what it feels like to have a hand. In your chest, the area you've been tapping, right? If you feel nothing, that's fine, but at the very least, feel your clothes along your skin. And again, get intimately familiar with this region that we're working with. And note the sensations that are available for you there. Does that make sense to you? So it's not in some fantasy, energy, woo-woo type experience. We're looking for real, grounded, tangible, tactile sensation here. You guys follow? Okay, good. Thank you so much. So now, we get the logic. Tapping as we inhale allows us to take in just a little bit more air. I think we are ready for step two. Step two, pat. Oh, wow, they're kind of, I just realized that. Same word, backwards. Okay, tap and pat. Now, allow me to demonstrate. Step one is tapping as I inhale. Step two, I'm going to hold that full breath and pat. This is what it'll look like. Anybody remember Calgon commercials? Calgon, take me away. Yeah, right? I'm showing my age here. Okay? So, this is participatory.
That didn't seem like a pat.
Well,
Slap, yeah.
I'm often asked, how hard do we pat, right? How bad do you want it to work? Okay, good. So inhale as you tap. Hold your breath, pat about 5 times. Good, and then, good, back to natural breath. Now, to really get a feel for this work, we're going to repeat. Okay, so again, inhale, tapping. Hold your breath, patting. And beautiful. Revert to natural breath. Natural, long and slow. 3rd time's a charm, just for fluency's sake. Inhale, tapping. Hold your breath, patting. And good. Natural breath. Very, very well done. Here's where I check in with you. Earlier we used our fingertips and we felt buzzing and tingling. Now that you're patting and slapping, that buzzing and tingling is probably a little bit louder. Yeah? Okay, anybody say, I feel nothing. Anybody left? Okay, good. So that's one thing. If you have buzzing and tingling in your hands, what does that mean? Circulate. Who said it? Good answer. If you have buzzing and tingling in your hands, that means stuff is moving. Circulation is happening. Life is happening in the hands. But if life is happening in your hands, what does that mean? It's also happening in your wrist, elbow, shoulder, neck. Because it doesn't just get to your hands by way of being in your hands. No, it has a pathway. So if you're alive in your hands, that means all of this is alive. Isn't that great? And so if you have buzzing and tingling in your chest, what does that mean? That means your lungs and your heart, liver, gallbladder, stomach, spleen are all getting circulation, right? It's an indication that this stuff works. Okay? Good. So we have inhale tapping. We have hold our breath patting. Now, what is happening here? We get that if I tap as I inhale, that's going to help me bring more air in. We get that logic. Now, what about this patting? Now get, when my lungs are empty, they're flat. When my lungs are full, like a balloon, they expand. So now that they're full, there is room. Room for what? Room for stuff to move. If they're flat, I can pound and pat all I want. Nothing's going to move. But if they're full and expanded, now there's rooms for things to be knocked off of the walls. Does that make sense? What needs to be knocked off your brachial walls?
Goo.
Goo, yes, goo. Way to tie it in, good. Tar, mucus, phlegm, dust, pollution, smoke from our wildfires, whatever is accumulated in your lungs needs to get out because it is hindering the quality of your breath. And the quality of your breath reflects the quality of your life. And so it is of value to get that stuff out. You guys following? Okay, so we have 2 steps. Take in more air, knock things off the walls. We're now ready for step 3. Now get that this is all one breath. Inhale, hold, exhale. That's one breath, is it not? So this expulsion is going to be the exhale aspect of our breath. And it's going to be done in a very special way. We're going to do it in spurts. Try it with me. Very well done. That is distinct from. Do you get the difference? One is only out. The other one is out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, right? And each one of those is a breath. Is it not? Right? So we're only working with the one breath. So we're going to exhale in spurts. Now there's a very special quality to this exhale. I want you to take a couple fingers, place them here on your plexus, right under your heart. And then from this space, cough a few times. Good. Ooh.
It's going to get gnarly.
Okay, don't cough so much. Okay, good. So you'll notice it's my diaphragm, right? So this expulsion doesn't come from here. It comes from here. And I'll stand aside, you can see it pulse. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is like, get out. Versus here, it's like, come on, guys, let's go. Right? We're going to come from here, get out. Okay, you get the distinction. So now, each of these has 2 parts. So as I tap, I'm inhaling. As I pat, I'm holding my breath. As I expel, I'm going to do something very special. I'm going to polish. Now, polishing does 2 things. For one, first and foremost, it's soothing, right? I want to soothe, right? I want to complement all that hard hitting with some soothing polishing. More than just my hands polishing my chest, though. Notice I'm exaggerating this range by using my entire arm, shoulder, shoulder blade, and rib cage. Now, these structural, skeletal elements of bone and mechanical, muscular elements, when all those bits move, what resides inside the ribs? Starts with L, ends with ungs. What we're here to work on today. And so get, if you're moving your ribs, if you're moving your shoulder blades, if you're moving your shoulder, you're also moving your lungs. Does that make sense? And so in the same way that you would polish or press to massage your shoulders, you can polish and press to massage your lungs in a very real, tangible way. We following? So now, allow me to demonstrate all 3 steps: inhaling, tap, holding of breath, patting, exhaling, and spurting. Please let me demonstrate. This is participatory. I will do it with you. Okay, make sure you have enough space. You're not going to smack anybody next to you. If you do, I will laugh. I think it's cute. Okay, we're going to inhale as we tap, hold our breath and pat, exhale in spurts as we make big, generous polishes. Let's do it together. Inhale, tapping. Hold your breath, patting. Exhale, polishing. Good. Big breath. Good. Close your eyes if you like. Enjoy a natural breath. Give yourself a moment to acclimate back to neutral after that work. And we're going to repeat. Again, inhale as you tap. Hold your breath as you pat. Exhale as you polish. Here's the fun part. How many of you feel a residual buzz or a tingle? How many of you have a softer, smoother, fuller, natural breath? Okay, good. Now, really quick, I didn't speak to this, but this tapping, I wanted to mention that prior to World War II, prior to the big pharmaceutical takeover, if you had asthma, this is what they did for you. Nowadays, if you have asthma, what do? They give you an inhaler. What is the inhaler? It's a steroid. It's a stimulant. What does the stimulant do? It dilates your brachial pathways, allowing you to what? Take in more air. However, our ancestors didn't have that technology. So if they wanted to open their brachial pathways, they had to do it manually. Does that make sense? And so prior to World War II, if you had any type of respiratory condition, asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, pneumonia, or the like, nurses would take turns tapping your chest to help you eliminate the stagnation caught in your lungs. So it's not far-fetched, right? You guys follow? So we also get the logic between every step. Correct? It's not some energy woo-woo fantasy thing. Like all this is tangible work. Okay? So we inhale as we tap, we hold our breath and pat, we expel as we polish. After we've done several rounds of that breath, this is where we see if it works or not. Sit tall, go back to that full Tai Chi breath. Inhale to the bottom, inhale to the middle. Inhale to the top, exhale from the top, exhale from the middle, exhale from the bottom. And maybe, just maybe, that level 1 breath is now a level 2. Anyone else notice just a smidge of a benefit to this work? If you feel it, give me a uh-huh. Wow, okay, good. So that took barely 20, 30 minutes. And there are 1,440 minutes in each day. So as you see, it doesn't take much to have big impact. And if you were to just incorporate 5 or 10 rounds of this a day, imagine how deep and full and smooth your breath can be down the line. And remember, the quality of our breath reflects the quality of our life. Now, I need to ask, was this challenging for anyone? It's very common. Some of us might get lightheaded. Some of us might get dizzy. Did that come up for anyone? A little bit. Thank you. Okay. If it comes up, consider just the tapping is enough. Typically, the lightheadedness comes from all of that stuff. Okay? So if it's too hard, just the tapping. The other thing is if we get lightheaded, maybe don't do it as long. So this patting, when I do it, I pat up to 20, 30 times, holding my breath all the while. That might be hard for a beginner. So maybe just 4 to 5 at first, initially, and then progress and work your way up as the skill develops. Now, the other thing to note, if you got lightheaded, if you got woozy or dizzy, if you had any complication along the course of this exercise, that means what? It means you need it. It means you have homework. It means you need to clean your lungs out. Because my teacher said something very matter of fact. If you think this is hard now, wait 10 years. Keep doing everything the same. Don't change any habit. And then try this again in 10 years. It will only be all the harder. And so if you're getting lightheaded and woozy and feeling funny from breathing, the most natural of all things that we can do in our body, it shows that you need the work and you need to practice, because it will only be more challenging down the line. Does that make sense to you guys? Good. Now, I want to leave you with a little bit of extra credit. Handsome man, I already touched you earlier, so do you mind being a volunteer? Can I put you on the spot? Okay.
You're going to pat me hard? Or?
Yes, I am. Okay.
Just want to make sure to be prepared for it.
Now face our community so we can all see, right? He's being very generous with his body right now. Thank you so much. So now, let's say we want to pursue this work with loved ones. You know how to do it in the front?
Don't do that.
Tapping, patting,
Yeah.
polishing. Okay? So I can do it from behind. He will do it from the front. Go ahead and tap. Good. Go ahead and pat. And then polish. Not bad. And so if you have a loved one that needs the work, you can do it with them from behind. Because lungs go back here too. And maybe, just maybe, some of us felt our restriction in the back. And so this is a wonderful way for you to address that work with a loved one. Beyond that, what if you have a third person? Right? And so you would just be relaxed in the middle. One person would be here doing front and back. The other person would be here doing front and back. And this is more likened to how the nurses did it prior to World War II. They would tap. Right? And then same thing. You would just be passive in the middle. You would inhale. You would hold. You would exhale. And then you have one person on either side doing it for you. Oh, it feels great. Okay? Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I see how you did that. That warmed up my lungs here.
Yeah. So, warmth is an indication of circulation. Good circulation, good health. Okay? Last note that I'll leave you guys with. That buzzy, that tingly that you feel in your hands and your chest, what is that? Chi, generic. What is it? What do you think? Energy, generic. Vitality, give me something tangible. Heat, we say circulation, that's a word that we used, right? I like to use the word change. That buzz, that tingle that you're feeling is the process of change. I'm going to leave you guys with this note. You are not a thing. You are a being. You're a verb. You're constantly changing. You're constantly transforming, whether you know it or not. Every instant you have new breath. Every day you have new skin. Every week you have new blood. Every year you have new organ tissue, new bone tissue. You are constantly changing. You are a process. Does that make sense to you? And so how many of us go through our lives just unaware that this is happening? So not only do you get to be present, dare I say, to that miracle, not only do you get to be present to it, you get to participate in it. So your practice is to get that buzz, to stimulate that circulation, to trigger that change, and take a few moments to bask, enjoy, and luxuriate in that buzz, that sensation of living. Then when that buzz subsides, like any good shampoo, lather, rinse, repeat. Okay? Farewell.